Hey, good morning, y'all. So I have a quick message I wanted to share with you all. I was thinking this morning about all kind of stuff, but specifically wisdom and elders, and this led me down a rabbit hole of a word study. And I'll kind of share with you where I went. So my parents were raised by their grandparents, right? Because I was thinking about elders, and they have some really interesting terms that they use from time to time. And one of those is coal. And my mom, if she's talking about like going through, I don't know, any collection she has, whether it's like if they've gathered some things from the garden or whatever and they've brought it back up to the house, they're going to go through it and see what they're going to keep and what they're going to not keep. They would say they're going to cull what they're not keeping. And so there's certain words like that I hear them say that I don't hear from anybody else. And so, and there's many others, I can't think of them right this minute, but I was thinking about that word coal, and I thought, it's just kind of a word that at least I don't hear very much. And I started trying to relate it to other words that I've heard recently, and I was thinking that I use the word culminate a lot, and I was thinking of cult, and those are two very different meanings, two very different words, and so I'm trying to find the similarities and trying to make the connections within my own mind where the word coal could be part of another word and see how that kind of plays together, how that works together. And I wasn't getting very far, so I'm going to share with you what I researched, and it kind of led me to a message, and so I hope you enjoy it. So in the online etymology dictionary, coal from the mid-14th century meant to choose, select, pick, collect, and gather the best things from a number of quantity. And I thought, that's the total opposite of the way I've heard it used. I've always assumed it meant, to get rid of. I'm going to cull that. That's no good, And so I thought, how interesting, because this is literally like gathering and collecting the best things from a number of quantity. And so also from the Latin collegiere or collegiere, meaning gather together or collect. And then from the old French cuiller, C-U-I-L-E-R, I don't know how to say this, y'all. And it says especially with regards to literature, to collect, gather, select, or pluck. And I thought, okay, so I understand that if you are collecting something, you are taking it away from this other place. Like, for example, if you're wanting to gather flowers and make a bouquet, well, then they're going to be plucked or collected from the garden, and then they're no longer, they've been, I guess, culled from the garden. But again, it's always had that negative connotation as far as I could recall. So then I was thinking about pluck. That's kind of an unusual term you don't hear very often too. But so looking at pluck from the late 14th century, it means to pull sharply with a sudden jerk or force. Okay, and then from the 1300s, there's a saying which is pluck up, which means to summon up, especially courage or heart. And so very, very different meanings we have here. And then we have, that's it on the words. So are these meanings truly contradictory? Are they really polar opposites, you might say? Or are they one and the same, or you might say two sides to a coin? It's just, different ways to look at it. So here's what I want to share with you all. Just like I was sharing about the flowers, when you pluck the flowers from a garden to make a bouquet, well, they can't be in both places at the same time. And I have a hard time with this. If there's some pretty flowers in my yard, I kind of want them to stay there so I can see them when I'm out in the yard. I'm outside a lot. But then again, they look nice in the house too. So you have to make a decision, because they can't be in both places at one time. And I was recalling going down this path of thinking this morning, the Bible verse that says you can't serve two masters. And so in these stories that I share with you all a lot, that's kind of almost like an undertone to the options that are presented to the characters in these stories. It's kind of like, do y'all remember those books when you were a kid? I'm kind of dating myself now. I'm showing my age, but back when I was a kid, sometimes you could read a book where you could get to a certain page and then you could choose what the character did. So like if they decided to go to their friend's house, then it would say turn to this page. Or if they decided to stay with their family, then it would say turn to this other page. And so you could see the different outcomes. It's almost like you had two books in one, or two stories in one. And so I think that in a lot of these fairy tales and legends and folklore that have like life lessons in them, I think that that's kind of what we are witnessing, is the choices that, or we're witnessing the choices that the characters make and the outcomes, and ideally learning a little something from that, right? So I was talking about in my last video how the characters, and a lot of times in a lot of these stories, they wind up getting married at the end. It's kind of like that fairy tale ending, but I think that this is symbolic of more than just marriage. If you look at if you zoom out and you see the whole thing from a bird's eye view, it's kind of like you can, and looking through a different lens, you can see that there's a little bit of allegory there. There's kind of a parable. And so when I was talking about commitment in my last video, I think at some point, I need to go back and look, but I think at some point I was talking about how we can, sometimes run from commitment. I know that there are people who literally run from committing to anything. They can't hold down a job. They can't stay with a marriage. They get married 5, 6, 7 times, whatever. So I wasn't referring to that. What I was talking about was committing to a life path that's in alignment with the numinous, the divine, versus a life path that's in alignment with the material, physical world, and living for that. Kind of a shallow type existence. So commitment can be in relation to a lot of different things. So with regards to choices and what winds up happening in our life based on the choices we make, here's what I came to with my thought process this morning. And that is, yes, choices are important, and they're important especially with regards to the time associated with the choices we make. So let me share this with you all. So growing up, my dad, I'm grateful for this. He taught me that when you buy something, when you're going to the store and you're shopping and you're looking to buy something, when you look at that price tag, he's like, don't look at it like it's so many dollars. Look at it as in, this is going to cost me this many hours of my life. It's like a trade-off. And if you think about that, like an hourly wage, for example, it's true. And so I was very grateful for that perspective. And then even more so, if you take a whole shopping bag full of stuff, just kind of add up how many hours you've traded there. Maybe that was 20 hours of your life, and then maybe you would reconsider that, all those decisions, all those things that you chose to purchase and put in that bag. It's kind of like, we don't think of it that way, but it's true. If you are in fact employed at a place and you're trading off your time for money. So it's time is a big deal. Why? Because time is our life. It's our life experience. And I know you know that, but it's just to remind ourselves of that, I think is good from time to time, to kind of check in and get realigned with what really matters. And so, when you're conscious of that, and it's not tucked away somewhere, it's not in the forefront of your mind, when you're actually staying conscious of that and keeping it in the forefront of your mind is what I meant to say, then you can appreciate more the time that another person gives you, because it's truly the most precious gift. And I bet that you have probably experienced giving a lot of your time in a relationship or a marriage or anything, a group, a family setting, whatever. You may have really put your heart and soul into it, sometimes they say, but really what that means is you're putting your time and your efforts into it, and then it wasn't reciprocated. And that's hard, especially if it's like in a marriage. And I think that when we're looking to sharpen or refine our discernment, this can be a really good lens to use. Is this person just trying to tick those boxes and look like they're being a great spouse? You know what I mean? By giving you, Hallmark cards and gifts and things like this, but yet they won't also give you their time. If you're both in the room together, are they really present with you? Do they really care about your thoughts and the things you share, or are they spacing out? So that's just a really good indicator to me of if a person truly cares or not. So just another lens to help sharpen and refine our discernment there. But also, this mindset keeps us in a state of gratitude, and that's a good thing. I think that's pretty much it. Let me double check my notes. Yeah, I wrote them down just in case. So I just would encourage you not to look back on the choices you've made and the way you've spent your time in the past in a sense of regret, because we all make mistakes, but our life itself is a process of refinement too, as we learn and grow, obviously. So please don't just waste more time in regret. I would just encourage you to take the lessons from what you've learned and just hold on to this space of gratitude, because now you're finally able to appreciate things, and also discern whether other people truly appreciate things or not as well. So I hope this has been interesting for you, and I hope it got the wheels turning most of all. And I thank you so much for coming along to hear the message. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.